Tonight, Canada's job market takes a sudden, painful hit.
I got so many rejections.
I'm getting really frustrated.
Some 80,000 out of work amid the tariff uncertainty, the growing pressure on Canada's economy.
And we're in Saudi Arabia tonight. The U.S. sending more troops, more warships to this region as the fighting rages on.
Our will, it is unshakable. We're going up, they're going down.
Nearly 2 weeks in, no clear end in sight. Donald Trump says it will end when he, quote, feels it in his bones. As the U.S. pauses some Russian sanctions, Canada will stand firm.
Canada's position is to maintain sanctions on Russia.
But as oil hits a 4-year high, we break down why securing tankers in the Gulf is harder than the White House suggests.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrienne Arsenault in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and Erica Johnson.
Thanks for joining us. Canada's economy is suffering an unexpected hit tonight. Tens of thousands of jobs cut, the worst monthly losses in years, even catching many economists by surprise. According to Statistics Canada, the country lost 84,000 jobs in February, driving the unemployment rate up to 6.7%. The Prime Minister is putting the blame on the rocky relationship with the United States and the uncertainty around trade. Nisha Patel has more on what's behind the hits to the labour market and what it says for the overall health of Canada's economy.
Employment dropped sharply and unexpectedly across the country last month. Few sectors were spared. Thousands of jobs lost in wholesale and retail. Manufacturing and construction cut workers too.
I think the overriding message here is it was very weak at the start of the year. We've seen almost no job growth whatsoever over the last 12 months, and that's not a positive for the economy.
Overall, Canada lost 84,000 jobs in February, one of the biggest monthly drops in years outside of the pandemic. That pushed the unemployment rate up to 6.7%. All of the job cuts were full-time, and most were in the private sector. More warning signs that Canada's economy is slowing down.
We saw our GDP shrink slightly in the fourth quarter of 2025. We've now had 2 months in a row of job losses.
The main culprit, U.S. tariffs. They've hit the auto, steel, and forestry sectors hard, driving a more serious downturn in Quebec, BC, and Ontario.
Given the scale of the trade actions, the uncertainty that is associated as well as with the trade actions by the United States, that is causing big adjustments in the Canadian economy.
With CUSMA still up for review and with the war in the Middle East pushing up oil prices, higher energy costs are likely to ripple through the economy. Companies may be even more reluctant to hire workers.
You load on the uncertainty from the Iran conflict and the trade uncertainty as well. I think we're going to struggle to see much job growth in the months ahead.
This hotel in Toronto is hiring, though. For the hundreds of job seekers that turned up, competition is stiff.
I have been sending so many CVs and I got so many rejections or, even people not replying.
Nothing seems to sort of stick, and I'm getting really frustrated because I like to think I'm pretty qualified for a lot of roles.
And it's young people in particular who are having a tough time finding stable, secure work. The unemployment rate for youth hit 14.1% last month.
And Nisha, what does this all mean for the Bank of Canada's interest rate decision next week?
Well, there's still inflation data that's due out Monday, but it's widely expected the bank will hold rates steady this time around, though some experts say future rate cuts are a possibility if economic weakness continues. Now, Canada has so far dodged 2 straight quarters of negative economic growth. That's the technical definition of a recession. And while we aren't officially there yet, if you're someone who lost their job last month, it certainly feels that way.
All right, thanks for this. That's Nisha Patel reporting in Toronto tonight. Let's go now to Adrienne in Saudi Arabia as the war in the Middle East approaches its 3rd week.
Thanks, Erica. Here in Riyadh, Iran's drones and missile attacks keep coming, with the largest disruption of oil and gas supply in world history getting more dire by the day. Now there's word that the U.S. has bombed military targets on an Iranian island key to its oil exports, warning energy infrastructure could be next. Meanwhile, the head of the Pentagon seething at the media for focusing not on military triumphs, but instead on hardships, on a day when 6 more U.S. soldiers were confirmed dead after an aerial refueling tanker crashed in Iraq, circumstances unclear. And as the Pentagon dispatches more soldiers to the region, including an amphibious assault group. Paul Hunter now on Washington's effort to calm concerns while the war ramps up.
With billowing smoke from some sort of explosion not far in the distance, thousands of pro-government demonstrators marched on the streets of Tehran. Elsewhere, more misery. After what was said to be yet another airstrike by U.S. or Israeli forces. That, as the U.S. now says, all 6 crew members are dead after an apparent mid-air incident over Iraq involving 2 of its military refueling planes.
Again, was not the result, as CENTCOM has said, was not the result of hostile or friendly fire.
One of the jets landed safely in Israel with apparent damage to its tail fin, said U.S. Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth.
War is hell. War is chaos. And as we saw yesterday with the tragic crash of our KC-135 tanker, bad things can happen.
As for continuing concerns in the Strait of Hormuz off the coast of Iran,
Hormuz is banned from now on,
where the targeting of oil tankers has all but closed off the waterway, paralyzing oil transit in the region and spiking global oil prices, said Hegseth, in effect, not to worry.
The only thing prohibiting transit in the Straits right now is Iran shooting at shipping. It is open for transit should Iran not do that.
Meanwhile, the war rolls on, but concerns it may further intensify now grow on reporting the U.S. is moving a Marine Expeditionary Unit to the region with more than 2,000 troops capable of land assault, leaving many Americans already jittery over the rising cost of oil and gas, wondering when will this end?
When it's over, and I don't think it's going to be long.
On that, the U.S. president in a phone interview on Fox News.
When are you going to know when it's over?
When I feel it.
Okay.
I feel it in my bones.
Then, on his way to Florida for the weekend, asked again.
How long now do you think the war is likely to last?
I can't tell you that. I mean, I have my own idea, but what good does it do? It'll be as long as it's necessary.
Trump adding, in his view, Adrienne, they're way ahead of schedule.
And late this evening, Paul, the president had a surprise announcement.
Indeed, while en route to Florida, announcing what he described as, quote, one of the most powerful bombing raids in the history of the Middle East, hitting military targets on Iran's Karg Island, the north end of the Persian Gulf, massively important for Iran's oil exports. Trump threatening, unless Iran now allows safe passage of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, oil facilities on Karg could be targeted next. Adrienne.
All right, thank you, Paul. That's Paul Hunter in Washington. Another front in the war between Israel and Hezbollah militants also continues to intensify. Susan Ormison takes us to a Lebanon weary of war and yet in some cases resigned to it.
Their faith endures in spite of another intractable war. Prayers on the last Friday of Ramadan for an end to a fight that's instead escalating. Faoud Makhzouma, a member of Lebanon's parliament, blames a lack of leadership.
We have a government that doesn't have the political will. The world gave us 15 months to disarm Hezbollah. We decided not to do it.
Hezbollah's dragged Lebanon into this brutal conflict with a more powerful enemy. The IDF is widening its attack, striking more areas, taking out what it says are weapons storage and launchers, and it says killing 380 Hezbollah combatants. Yet strikes from Iran and Hezbollah are still hitting northern Israel, including Zarzir, near Nimran Griffith's home.
It was huge, it was big fire. The kids was asleep.
In return, Israel dropped leaflets warning if they won't disarm Hezbollah, Lebanese face punishing consequences.
Nearly every day now, there is an airstrike in the center of Beirut, this one in a district called Bashura. The Israeli army claims that Hezbollah was hiding millions of dollars of cash and gold underneath the building. And it says increasingly Hezbollah is hiding within the civilian population.
Nabil Shukair lives in the next street. The blast was terrorizing, he told us, and for all of his 58 years, he's lived with war. Even if it will calm down, even if they have a treaty or negotiate, it will come back. In a televised message, Hezbollah's leader, Naim Qassem, said, "We've prepared ourselves for a long confrontation, God willing. They'll be surprised on the battlefield." Many believe Lebanon is at its most dangerous precipice since the civil war ended in 1990. Authorities say over 800,000 people are now out of their homes, many frustrated. No one, not the government, not the United Nations, no one at all is helping. To counter that, the UN Secretary General touched down in Beirut, appealing for over $300 million in humanitarian aid.
Solidarity in words must be matched by solidarity in action.
But aid won't bring about a ceasefire.
So, Susan, Hezbollah's leader made that appearance tonight, predictably defiant, but was there any mention of talks?
It was veiled. He said Hezbollah's involvement is to weaken Israel's position in order to get a better agreement. But Israel has said it won't talk to Lebanon unless Hezbollah disarms. That's a red line. So fair to say, no progress on talks.
All right. That is Susan Ormiston in Beirut tonight. Thank you. The cascading effects of the war in the Middle East have hit the lucrative Formula One circuit, with multiple reports that 2 Grand Prix will be canceled. The formal cancellation of the races in Bahrain and here in Saudi Arabia, both scheduled for next month, is expected by this weekend. But freight for the events needs to be shipped weeks in advance. And with the Strait of Hormuz closed, there's just no safe, practical way to get it into the region on time. So the Grand Prix cost tens of millions of dollars to host, Erica, and to do so is a real sign of stability and prestige in this country and really throughout the Gulf states.
So then, Adrienne, how big a blow would it be to lose events like these?
I think, Erica, if it comes to pass that events like these are canceled out of concern, that would really frighten the Gulf states. They have tried to brand themselves as stable places to invest and grow and play. And, you know, oil may have built a country like this, but they really want the future to look different. So any seeds of doubt will make that a lot harder. We're seeing a lot of things change here. One of them that I want to talk about is wartime censorship. We'll look at that in a few minutes, but for now, I'm going to hand it back to you in Vancouver.
Thanks, Adrienne. The U.S.-Iran war pushed oil prices to a 4-year high today. Brent crude, the global benchmark for oil, ended trading at $103 a barrel, the highest closing price since August 2022. Prices have not been significantly curbed by an agreement from world leaders to release oil reserves. Today, Canada committed to supplying 23.6 million barrels of oil as part of that agreement. And Canada will uphold sanctions on Russian oil after the U.S. temporarily paused restrictions to try and regulate oil prices. The Prime Minister made the comments alongside allies in Norway, where he's observing NATO exercises to bolster Arctic defense. Catherine Tunney is in Norway tonight.
The leaders of Canada, Norway, and Germany above the Arctic Circle, observing a trainee mission and standing united against the Trump administration's decision to ease sanctions on the sale of Russian oil.
I think that there should be no pressure on the energy side taken off Russia. It needs to be consistent.
A surprise for the G7 leaders, who spoke to U.S. President Donald Trump just this week.
6 out of 7 were clearly the opinion that we should not release the sanctions against Russia.
The temporary waiver would allow countries to buy Russian oil on tankers stranded at sea. The White House insists it's aimed at bringing stability to global energy markets, rocked by the U.S.-Israeli war, effectively closing the Strait of Hormuz, a key route for a fifth of the world's oil supply. Prime Minister Mark Carney in lockstep with European allies.
Canada's position is to maintain sanctions on Russia, maintain sanctions including on the Shadow Fleet, which is moving this oil.
Carney traveled to northern Norway to take in cold response, pitching that Canada is willing to play a stronger role in the north. The exercise brings thousands of troops to NATO's northern flank and allows soldiers to share training in a cold environment, a shift for Canadian troops.
It's not the type of adversary that we've been facing over the last 10 or 20 years, not the same adversary as we faced in Afghanistan.
The NATO exercise here is meant to test Norway's military readiness in case of a potential crisis. Officials in Carney's office say observing the war game will help inform Canada's Arctic strategy. Catherine Tunney, CBC News, Bardufoss, Norway.
Pierre Poilievre says the Conservatives will present their own U.S. auto pact proposal after a weekend trip south of the border.
On Sunday, I'll be announcing a new auto pact proposal that will protect the jobs of our country. I say it's realistic because it will do this in a way that will be advantageous to both Americans and Canadians. And that is why I believe we can get the Americans to accept this proposal.
Poilievre is visiting Detroit to meet with state politicians from Michigan and Ohio, plus representatives from Ford and General Motors. Millions of Americans could now be eligible for a Canadian passport under new federal legislation.
There's no limit on how many generations you can go back, as long as you can prove it.
More on how the new rules work. Plus, the turmoil in movie land ahead of Hollywood's biggest night.
You've got 2 of the 5 legacy studios in talks to merge. You've got AI.
A check on the shifting landscape as the red carpet is rolled out for the Oscars. And Canada's stunning comeback at the Milano Cortina Paralympics.
Oh, my! Wow!
We're back in 2. The Alberta government is giving an independent investigator sweeping powers in a municipal inspection, focusing on how Calgary manages its water system. This after 2 major ruptures in less than 2 years that's led to ongoing water restrictions. The province says this could include officials testifying under oath. The final report is expected to be made public by the end of the year. Several health advocacy groups are calling for a provincial inquest into the deaths of 2 people in Winnipeg. This after a CBC News investigation revealed they died after making plasma donations at for-profit collection centres. The Manitoba Health Coalition says the honorarium is a dangerous incentive.
We want to have an understanding of how frequently the people who did die were donating, if that connected. We're looking to ban paid plasma in Manitoba, as other provinces have done.
22-year-old international student Rodiette Alabetti died last October after friends say she gave plasma. A second person reportedly died in January, also after donating at a Griffel center. The Spain-based company says it has no reason to believe the deaths are connected to plasma collection. Health Canada is investigating. It says 4 people have died in Canada in the last decade after giving plasma, including these 2 recent deaths in Winnipeg. Canadian archivists are seeing a surge in requests from Americans. They're looking for records proving they have Canadian roots. As Alexander Silverman reports, it comes after a recent change to Canada's citizenship laws.
I was born in Notre-Dame-de-Ham.
Growing up in a small Massachusetts town, Mary and Ryan Hamill always knew of their French-Canadian roots.
French meat pie was a staple, split pea soup.
Ryan's great-grandfather immigrated to the U.S. from Quebec in the early 1900s. Mary's great-great-grandfather came in the late 1800s. More than a century later, the American couple, already living and working in Montreal, is now set to become Canadian themselves, taking advantage of a new law.
I love, now that I live in Quebec and we're getting the lay of the land and visiting more places, I can look in the maps and say, oh, this is where Nana was born.
Bill C-3, nicknamed the Lost Canadians Act, opens the door for people with Canadian ancestors to apply for citizenship.
Great-grandmother, great-grandfather, great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. It does not matter. There's no limit on how many generations you can go back, as long as you can prove it.
The new legislation is creating overwhelming demand here at the National Archives in Montreal. In January alone, Quebec archivists received more than 1,000 requests to authenticate birth records, up from just 32 in the same month last year.
The process is lengthy. We have to go back to the original register, which is not always in a great state just because it's so old.
With significant economic migration from Quebec to New England in the late 1800s and early 1900s, about 10 million Americans could be eligible to become Canadian, according to this historian.
They're very excited to have this sense that there's an official recognition that they still belong to something.
Birthplace, Canada.
The Hamels are finalizing their citizenship applications, planning to stay in Montreal, driven north by the political climate in the U.S.
I already feel Canadian in at least my heart.
Finding a new home and sense of belonging through ancestors, generations apart. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Montreal.
For journalists on the ground here in the Middle East, getting the story out is becoming increasingly difficult under tightening censorship rules. The limits on what can be shared from the region and the punishments for those who disobey. Plus, why reopening the Strait of Hormuz will be harder than the White House claims.
Iran has lots of options for making things even worse than they are now.
The National returns from Saudi Arabia right after this.
Revs up the crowd as she crosses the line for another gold in Milano Cortina.
British Columbia's Natalie Wilkie is racking up the hardware at the 2026 Paralympic Games. She skied to her second gold medal today in the women's standing sprint biathlon. She's now won 4 medals at the Games, and she still has at least one event to go. The 98th Academy Awards are this Sunday in Los Angeles. The year's most acclaimed films will be honored, but with fewer movies being made, Hollywood's biggest night is being forced to evolve. Eli Glasner explains from LA.
As Oscar gets ready for his golden moment, there's bedlam behind the scenes.
The fact that you've got 2 of the 5 legacy studios in talks to merge, you've got AI, we had the fires, we had the labor strikes. It's all created an environment of anxiety.
Post-pandemic, the industry has changed. The box office never returned to pre-pandemic heights. The major studios are making fewer adult dramas, the kind the Oscars depend on. Overall, the number of wide releases has dropped by 20%, according to one American research firm.
We're all set? Here we go.
In the midst of all this upheaval, the Oscars, a show fighting for eyeballs.
Obviously, viewership has been going down for years. I think it's only going to continue to do so.
This awards observer says the Oscars still cut through the noise.
You know, Sinners gets its record-breaking 16 Oscar nominations, and I had 2 friends who have nothing to do with the movie industry text me that they were finally watching the movie.
But even the Oscars is evolving, cutting a new deal to move the broadcast from ABC to YouTube in 2029.
What does this move to YouTube mean for the Oscars? How significant is this?
I think it's a major move for the Oscars. And what they are getting out of it is a partner that was willing to continue paying them $100 million a year, which ABC was not. And they are getting the future audience that is younger and more global and more mobile.
And I saw it. When it comes to fears about the death of cinema, the director of Frankenstein say they've seen that movie before.
We had to bring CinemaScope when cable came in, when DVDs, when VCRs, everything. I think that we mutate, but the need for stories is still alive.
As the Oscars approach and as the industry braces for more change. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Los Angeles.
Welcome back to Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, one of several Gulf states caught in the crossfire as Iran strikes back at the U.S. and Israel.
We have been dealing with it and don't need to worry about it.
Getting ships through the Strait of Hormuz may be a bit more complicated than the White House seems to hope.
Iran has lots of options for making things even worse than they are now.
We'll look at how some vessels are getting through Iran's effective shutdown. But first, As destruction spreads across the Middle East, images of the conflict are harder and harder to find. In many countries, they're being blocked by wartime censorship, including right here in Riyadh. Here's why. Military censorship rules are changing some of what you see about this war. Here's some of what's going on. In the early days of the war, there were a lot of social media images, sometimes of specific places that were hit in Iranian strikes in particular, but you don't see as many of those pictures anymore, not as many live images. Why is that? Countries at war, especially here in the Middle East, have military censorship rules that are often based on operational security and safety. So imagine if you're reporting live from a particular location about a missile strike in a certain neighborhood on a certain street. The thinking is that the enemy could use that information too to adjust the settings on their missiles so that they could eventually precisely hit the target they were looking for. That's called triangulating. Countries under attack say they need to make sure journalists and the citizens don't inadvertently help the enemy. In a country like Israel, for example, rules have been evolving over this war. No longer can you show live images of missile interceptions or missile strikes. You have to be very generalized about where missiles are landing. And if you violate those rules, you risk losing your permit to work in the country, being deported, even arrested and detained. Some of these Gulf states are places where press freedom is restricted at the very best of times. But now, taking pictures or doing stories that may seem to pose a risk or maybe incite panic or perhaps even appear critical of the leadership could land you in jail. Look at the UAE. This is a place where influencers tend to stream almost everything.
Get ready with me to go on a coffee date.
When the war started, that included drone and missile strikes.
That was meters away from us. Look at this. Me. Shit. That was well close.
But now, that's not allowed. According to a group called Detained in Dubai, which provides legal advice for foreigners, some 21 people are now in jail for doing just that. In Kuwait right now, it can be confusing. You may see news stories of some buildings with strike damage. Those are in unclassified areas. But filming strikes or interceptions or in restricted areas or in any way mocking leadership can lead to arrest. We've seen their mugshots published, letting everyone know who's breaking the rules. In Iran, not only is connectivity a huge issue, but the journalists who do manage to get in cannot move without minders. Here in Saudi Arabia, to be able to do even just this requires multiple layers of permission. Right now, for example, we cannot film inside of the financial district, perhaps because of a concern about possible targeting of businesses there. Officials here rarely communicate outside of written statements. There are big restrictions on shooting images of anything sensitive. You're talking energy infrastructure, defense installations, certainly not missile strikes or locations of where debris has fallen or interceptions. Losing your visa, being deported, thrown in jail, those are all possible penalties here. The fact is, in a war, information and images are often seen as weapons, and the longer this war goes on, the harder it's going to be to get you precision on just what exactly is happening. The Strait of Hormuz is certainly being used as an economic weapon by Iran, effectively closed for 11 days now, choking off global oil supply. As ships wait for a reprieve, the United States has floated ideas to get the tankers moving again. Lindsay Duncombe looks at those ideas and what is happening in the Strait right now.
This is what Americans want to show off. Missiles destroying Iranian ships.
We took out just about all of their mine ships in one night.
Assurances oil will move soon.
Something we're dealing with, we have been dealing with it, and don't need to worry about it.
But Iran is escalating attacks in the Hormuz Strait. The impact caught analysts off guard.
It's way easier to block the Strait of Hormuz than I realized.
And opening it up again likely won't be as simple, fast, or safe as the White House wants.
One cannot pass through the Strait of Hormuz undetected.
The challenge, says energy economist Werner Atweiler, has a lot to do with geography.
When we're looking at the Strait of Hormuz, there are very narrow shipping lanes that the vessels can go through because of the depths that they need to clear.
At its narrowest point, the Hormuz Strait is just 33 kilometers wide. The oil tankers, the LNG vessels, the container ships have nowhere to hide.
Well within visual range, certainly well within radar range. It is very easy to predict where ships will be. And in fact, there is probably greater worry about anti-ship missiles than there is about mining.
Even a single person with a shoulder-fired missile could hit a tanker there. So Iran could easily escalate attacks.
Jim Crane is a former journalist and a fellow in Mideast Energy Studies at Rice University.
Iran has lots of options for making things even worse than they are now.
Including mines. The United States says it's destroying Iran's mine-laying boats, a blow to its navy for sure. But Crane says you don't need special boats to set a destructive trap.
They can do it with, unmanned aerial or seaborne vehicles, and there's other ways. Just regular boats or fishing boats can be surreptitiously dropping these things.
We don't know for sure if Iran has mined the strait, but if it has, making it safe won't be easy or quick.
Clearing mines, once they're deployed, takes time.
How do you do it?
Well, actually, it needs deep-sea divers. There are different methods depending on what kind of mines they are.
So somebody has to actually go in, dive, and look for the mines?
That's right. And that takes time and effort, and it's risky.
Physical threats of mines and missiles change the economic calculation for shippers in the Gulf, says Anna Suesik. She is a risk analyst with Kepler. It provides ship tracking information and maritime intelligence to clients around the world.
There's been a lot of insurance cancellations and wartime policy kind of renegotiations that need to happen at this point.
She says without insurance, or with insurance far too expensive, most tankers won't move. But here's the thing, some are.
We're seeing only around 1 to 3 vessels per day on average that are passing. It's mostly been the ones that are affiliated with the Iranian regime, and the majority of the cargoes that have been able to pass are bound for China.
So Iran's biggest client, China, is still getting oil. Crane says ships are getting through by signaling they're from China or Iran.
The little traffic that is getting through is mainly Chinese-owned ships that are broadcasting that they're Chinese-owned and not to harass them, or Iranian.
But here's where it gets even more confusing and dangerous. Those signals, the ones that broadcast where a ship is from and where it's going, aren't really working right now.
Military vessels will jam these signals during sensitive maneuvers, and they spoof it to kind of mask their positioning data. So you can't really see who is emitting the disruption because it just creates a lot of noise on the map.
This is what that noise looks like. Kepler shared these images with us. The vessel's signals are thrown off, making it tough to tell what ship is where.
And when there's jamming happening, that means that the positioning also drops out. So if they're spoofed, then the vessels are calculating false positions.
It's into that environment that the U.S. has suggested military escorts could move oil through the strait.
That was always in our planning, the chance that U.S. Navy or perhaps an international coalition will be escorting oil tankers through.
There are now reports that this second convoy has safely passed through the Strait of Hormuz.
After all, it has happened before. These pictures are from the Iran-Iraq War, when ships from the U.S. and other countries escorted tankers.
I actually recently wrote a paper that looked at Iran's options for blocking the strait. Imagine that there would be U.S. Navy escorts like they were in the tanker war.
But he says this war is different because the U.S. is a direct combatant. And then there's the logistics. Escorts would move very slowly, and the vessels that could do that work are busy, says the Energy Secretary.
We're simply not ready. All of our military assets right now are focused on destroying Iran's offensive capabilities.
The simplest way to get oil moving through the Hormuz Strait? Stop fighting. Iran, the U.S., and Israel would have to be on board with that. And there are few signs of imminent peace.
But in this region, oil isn't the only critical resource. Fresh water is too, given it's in short supply here. Andrew Chang, the host of About That, shows us how vital desalination plants are turning into targets.
They're complaining about a desalinization plant. We complain about the fact that they shouldn't be chopping babies' heads off.
If Trump sounds defensive there, it's because the U.S. has been accused of bombing Iran's access to fresh water, one of its desalination plants, and in one of the most water-scarce regions on the planet. A blatant and desperate crime, says Iran. But one day later, nearby Bahrain accused Iran of doing the same. Desalination plants, which turn salt water into drinking water, are what make life livable in much of the Middle East. You know how much rain falls near the Persian Gulf each year? Fewer than 6 inches on average. Natural fresh water is rare because of the extreme dry heat. Groundwater, in many cases, overdrawn and depleted. Parts of Iran itself are facing such a severe water shortage. That's one reason the president wants to abandon Tehran as a capital city and pick a new one further south. Iran, in a way, is lucky. It has access to dams and rivers for drinking water, but the region, some countries need desalination. In some cases, like in Kuwait, it's practically the only source of drinking water. It's how you survive in the desert. And when you think about it, it's how these economies function at all. Consider how much water is used in manufacturing, processing, even tourism. All of it needs fresh water. What's interesting is that no country wants to admit to attacking the other's desalination plants, but they're openly accusing each other of doing so while knowing full well how devastating of a target they can be.
So keep an eye on the water. The more this war escalates, there are fears water security might become a new front line. That's it from us in Riyadh. It's back to you, Erica, in Vancouver.
Thanks, Adrienne. Coming up, after the U.S. Supreme Court struck down Trump's sweeping emergency tariffs, he retaliated with a new 10% global rate. But what does it all mean for Canada?
I would not call this a win for the Canadian economy. I would call it a setback for the U.S. administration.
We'll break down the cost and goods being impacted next. Donald Trump is still determined to pursue his trade war, despite a Supreme Court ruling against his sweeping tariffs.
What he wants to do is hurt us. We are under economic attack.
So what tariffs affect Canada right now, and how Trump could find new ways to tariff soon? Ashley Fraser takes us through where things stand and the fears and uncertainty about what's next.
So the U.S. Supreme Court recently struck down Donald Trump's sweeping emergency tariffs. It sort of looked like things could be moving in a good direction. But what does all this tariff talk and the ruling really mean for affordability for Canadians?
I would not call this a win for the Canadian economy. I would call it a setback for the U.S. administration.
All is part of a trend line, which is trending against the president in terms of the imposition of tariffs.
Frank McKenna, former Canadian ambassador to the U.S., is also referring to the recent U.S. House of Representatives vote against tariffs on Canada. But does that make a difference?
Does it have a material impact in CUSMA review or where the administration goes next as far as tariffs go? No, it doesn't.
And that executive vice president at the Canadian Chamber of Commerce says it doesn't mean tariffs aren't affecting Canadians right now. Here's our pie to break it down. 90% of trade between Canada and the US falls under the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, known as CUSMA, meaning no tariffs on goods that fall under that agreement. The other 10% is considered non-compliant, meaning the products do not qualify for duty-free trade. And we'll zoom in on that slice. That's where we have 10% blanket tariffs.
Today I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122.
Days after the Supreme Court ruling, Trump threatened to raise that to 15%. Plus, there are specific industries targeted with higher tariffs known as sectoral tariffs. Those break down into these chunks. Steel, aluminum, and copper remain the highest at 50%. Now, the experts I spoke to say that when you average those tariffs out, the 10% tariff applied to non-compliant CUSMA products, along with the other sectoral tariffs, we get a roughly 5 to 6% tariff rate.
That's really the lowest in the world. So it's only in a couple of areas that we get caught, and we get caught hard.
But just because the sectoral tariffs are a small piece of that pie doesn't mean we don't feel the effects. This economist says no matter the numbers, we are feeling it.
The numbers mean nothing. What he wants to do is hurt us. We are under economic attack in a way that we have never been with anybody in the world.
Him being US President Donald Trump.
Where it hits Canadians is through the producers, through the price of input goods to make the things we need to make.
Now, Holmes uses an interesting example to help us understand this. Let's take this can of beer. It's made in Canada, out of Canadian-grown barley, brewed here. Even the aluminum for the can is Canadian. But the actual can isn't made in Canada. It's made in the US, so the aluminum is shipped down.
It pays a tariff as soon as it enters, and then it's turned into a can and we have to buy it back, but now that can's more expensive than it used to be, and that's a big part of the cost. End result, the Canadian consumer is suddenly paying a little bit more maybe for that can of beer.
Confused yet? Yeah, there's the uncertainty of it all.
If we look back at 2025, there were over 50 different changes to the US tariff code last year alone. That's more than one a week. It's hard for me to even keep up with it, and it's most of my job right now.
And even without a direct tariff on a product, that uncertainty hits our economy the hardest. Companies are more hesitant to make long-term business decisions like hiring or product launches, which can lead to job redundancies.
You thought last summer was bad on youth unemployment? Wait till we get till this summer, where you're going to see fewer hirings and possibly more firings because of this prolonged period of uncertainty.
And remember that new 15% tariff I mentioned earlier? That's just an example of how Trump may find new ways to apply tariffs.
They're only good for 150 days, and they can only go up to 15%.
And then under Section 122, it has to get congressional approval to be extended.
We have to think about the end game here. The president is going to be able to restack his tariff wall.
And while Trump continues to impose punishing tariffs targeting key industrial sectors, CUSMA is up for renegotiation. The timing means Trump could use this to his advantage. What we know so far is CUSMA requires parties to meet every 6 years to review the agreement and decide whether to extend it. So far, both Canada and Mexico have said they want CUSMA to remain in place. But just recently, the US trade representative didn't sound like he was pleased with it.
If we want to have that deal, you need to have better rules, stricter rules to make sure that there's more US content in what we have.
So uncertainty continues. But despite that, according to Holmes, relief and reduction of sectoral tariffs, so steel, auto parts, lumber, could come. And that's because of pressure from US consumers.
The cost of durable goods that American consumers are paying for, and the tariffs aren't making it better. And there's data that shows the tariffs are actually contributing to it. And so that over time could weaken where the administration's willing to go or how deep they go on tariffs. Do I think that's going to happen? Not right now.
Coming up, Canada's Paralympic curlers pull off an incredible comeback.
It's an incredible feeling to actually come away with a win.
How they defeated South Korea when things came down to the wire. Next, in our moment. They're looking at Canada's wheelchair curling team, moments after securing their victory over South Korea. Canada was losing 7-5 going into the last end. Thankfully, they were able to turn it around. So tonight, their impressive win makes our moment.
Canada turnaround for the Canadians.
We were against the ropes. Korea had a great game. They put pressure on us the whole game.
But we stuck with it. Able to manage, keep the scoreboard close, tried to put all the guards we could, and we got a couple good rocks. Marco made that beauty hit and roll to give us the opportunity to win the game.
This would pretty much be the game here for the Canadians.
I just thought, just put a nice smooth throw on it, and whatever happens, happens, and, just got lucky to make the roll in there.
Wow! That was incredible!
We play it right to the end, every game that we're in, and yeah, even when they're tight like that, we can still do it.
It's an incredible feeling to actually come away with a win.
To go from laying in a hospital bed to this moment, I can't describe it.
And they have been undefeated in the round robin, making Paralympic curling history. Now, Kalinda's brother likes to call this team the Cardiac Canadians because the game was so close to watch, pretty tight. Tomorrow, they take on China for the gold medal. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Erica Johnson in Vancouver. Take care.